The Asantehene Otumfuo Osei Tutu II is worried about the loss of human capital due to the neglect of technical and vocational education in the country. He observes Ghana's education system has failed to fully harness the potential of the people due to over-concentration on theoretical education. He spoke at the investiture of the Foundation Vice-Chancellor of the Asantehene Apiamenka University of Skills Training and Entrepreneurial Development in Kumasi. Nanaya Ojima has more.
The Asantehene observed the neglect of technical and vocational education has stifled development in the country. He commended an initiative to grant opportunity for arts students to train in engineering at the tertiary level.
A whole idea of an art student cannot be a science student, cannot be engineering. Someone who uses an initiative to design, draw, and we say that he cannot be an engineer. The initiative that he uses to visualize how to draw someone. And we left so many people in school because it was the type of English students which was introduced British education to say, Latin. Now chew poor pass and forget. There was no initiative. Every baba no control. No pass any amount O level, no control, no any GC A level, no university. Those who couldn't do that, some of our mates were left there. We couldn't identify what they could do in terms of skills training. Some of them now, we've lost the human resource that we needed to deliver Ghana.
The Ministry of Education has reiterated its dedication to promoting innovation and creativity among the youth through implementation of policies and reforms that prioritize TVET and STEM education. Deputy Minister of Education in charge of TVET, Gifty Chum Ampofo, says the government will continue to invest in the sector to improve the capacity of trainees. She observed the government's policy to allow students without science background to switch to engineering has chalked some successes.
And the students, after 1 year intensive training, had done so well that this year they've gained admission to the various programs under engineering. Why did we do that? Because research has proved that with those globalizations, countries that have high percentage of engineers, we often have a lot of investors invest in those countries in areas of industrialization because the manpower availability is so high that they rush to these countries.
The Asantehene Apiamenka University of Skills Training and Entrepreneurial Development is established with the mandate to train teachers in TVET and entrepreneurial development. The investiture has made Professor Frederick Kwekusafo the Foundation Vice-Chancellor for the university. He acknowledged the importance of the university in the country's development.
AMUSET is committed to equipping people with the science, art, and craft of teaching TVET because we are confident that the country could achieve quality TVET only when there are quality TVET teachers. I'm also humbly suggesting that we should begin to think seriously to teach TVET and STEM in the language that the student understands.
For JoyNews, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies, Dr. Peter Anti, has joined me via Zoom for more on this. Hello, Doc. I mean, clearly, we would say that the Asantehene made such an accurate observation. But again, government was there to reiterate its commitment to improving technical and vocational education in the country. In fact, I have hosted government reps and other officials who have been working hard in that sector. From where you sit, would you say that we are on course to achieving that, or it's more of paper than practical work?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers and to yourself. I must say that it's interesting to hear the comments from the king of the Ashanti Kingdom, Mutumfo. Yes, as a country, we have tried in the past to ensure that we have a lot of people pursuing TVET education. Let me take you back a little to even the introduction of the junior high school system in our educational system. You will see that during those days, students were asked to work through or taught technical skills, vocational skills, agricultural science. We used to do practicals on campus, at the various schools, and even at the junior high school level. We had instances where schools were having workshops. They had this kind of box that had all sorts of equipment in it. And this translated into our introduction of the 2007 education reform. And if you look at that particular reform, I have said on several platforms that reform was very important for the transformation of education in Ghana, because that reform technically talked about different pathways as a student exits the junior high school system. So there were pathways for vocational education, pathway for technical vocational education, of course, the normal grammar, and then agriculture, and then there was a pathway for apprenticeship. Unfortunately, we have not been able to do much there, and that is why most of us seems to think that the issue about TVET is more of a theory than when it comes to trying to implement some of these good ideas that we have had in our educational policies. But in recent times, the government has shown serious commitment to TVET education. For the first time, we're having the TVET services as a whole group on its own. A different setup as compared to the Ghana Education Services, whereby the Ghana Education Service is now limited to the primary and secondary education, the grammar type, and the TVET services is being devoted to technical and vocational education. Again, if you look at the kind of infrastructure improvement and equipment, coupled with our idea of transforming the various polytechnics into technical universities. These are investments that I think are an indication that government is committed to ensuring that TVET takes its rightful place in the education system of this country.
I recently saw a post on social media, and there was a gentleman who was encouraging young people to learn or get practical skills with the advancement of AI. His argument is that very soon our jobs may be taking over, and I know in other places where presentations like what I'm doing is being done by artificial intelligence, and some people are developing robots and all of that. Have we taken the concept of technical education that seriously? I'm asking this because for many people who may want to go into technical training, they're either stopped by parents or a system or by peer pressure, because they're made to feel that, oh, why would you get a white-collar job? That's more glamorous. That looks good. Why do you want to dirty your fingers and all that? And I'm asking this in relation to AI and where we are currently in the world. We have, yes, we've done a lot, and I have admitted that this government in particular has been in the past few years very serious about getting technical and vocational education to the level that it is at in other parts of the world. But as a society as a whole, do you think that we have taken this as seriously as we should?
No. And that is one of the difficulties that policymakers have had when it comes to TVET, because you realize that in the past, students that access technical and vocational educations were technically weak students. Those who did well in their BEC were never encouraged to enroll in any technical or vocational education. These students were asked to go to the normal grammar schools to do the sciences, the general arts, and then the business. Then those who could not had admission into these grammar schools were then advised and encouraged to go and do these kinds of vocational, technical, and pick up other apprenticeship jobs. And that has been the perception of the people when it comes to technical and vocational education. So the whole mindset of the populace in terms of technical and vocational education have never been good. And I think that, unfortunately, policymakers have not also done well in terms of conscientizing the populace about the importance of technical and vocational education over the years. And that has contributed to that stigma that comes with people who pursue technical and vocational education. I can see that in recent times, these things are changing. Another issue that I even have to bring in before I talk about the changing is the path that these students had to go through. You have to write several exams before you even get to a kind of qualification that you can use to do other things. Whereas the one who was going through the normal secondary school system, that's 3 years, and then it's in the tertiary institution. These students would have to write part 1, part 2, part 3, and all those parts to be able to get to even the polytechnics in those days. And the streamlining of all these, their exams and other things, is also contributing to eroding the perception that the TVET is for a certain group of students that are not good. So public perception is important. That stigma is still there, and we need to work around it. We need to encourage parents. We need to encourage the whole population that if we want to transform in terms of, as you said, the way the world is changing, technology is taking over, and people are developing things to take over the activities that man used to do. We need to now get a lot more people going into vocational, technical, and then STEM education to ensure that they form the manpower base of our economy, and they will be able to help transform the economy and reduce unemployment to the barest minimum. That is one surest way that will be able to get most people away from the graduate unemployment syndrome that is engulfing us. And I think that with our focus, with the commitment, as we have said already, with this government and subsequent government that might come in the near future, we should be able to make technical and vocational education the center of employment in the country.
Lastly, should it be restricted to specialized schools? And I'm asking this because I'm going way back to my primary school days when you didn't necessarily have to opt for technical or vocational education. There were basic skills that were taught as part of the general curriculum. Should we begin to look at that? Because some have suggested that it is even in there that a young person may realize their interest or develop a passion before they branch out at the technical level to specialize.
Yes, I have been a strong advocate of comprehensive education. I personally do not believe in segregation when it comes to education. I think that as the child grows in the educational system, the child develops interest. And the interest the child develops is based on the things that the child is exposed to.
Right.
So if you go back to the period when we had junior high school was being implemented in its early years, you see that you go through all those things, life skills, vocational skills, technical skills are great. These things are exposed to the student, and the student is able to align with one of these, and that should guide the child as he grows in educational system. So I believe that we should expose the child, the student, to all these at the early stages of their lives. And when they are moving out, through guidance and counseling and a lot more analysis of the child's total competence, the child might decide to go TVET or go senior high school. These are the avenues that might be available for the particular child. But if you don't expose the child to these kind of things at that level, then you continue to have the problem of not getting a lot of our children developing interest in TVET education. So comprehensive education is the best way to go. Expose the child to all forms of education available to him or her, and as they grow, they develop interest in what they think would work for them.
I'm grateful for your time this morning. Dr. Peter Anti is Executive Director at the Institute for Education Studies, and we've been talking about technical and vocational education in the country on the back of the comment of the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei-Tutu, who thinks that we have focused too much on theoretical studies at the expense of vocational training.